Morning, everyone, and welcome to Black Venture Fund's online conference. On behalf of the BVF Board of Directors, our sponsor, Fairwind Bank, and formerly Citizens Bank, our Executive Director, Leslie Gray, and our esteemed group of panelists, we want to welcome you to this online conference. So at this point, if you can bow your heads, which is our customary because we are a Christian-based organization, and I'll say a prayer. Father God, we just humbly come before you. Thank you, God, that you woke us up another day. Thanking you that you've given us the opportunity to share our thoughts based on Christian business values. Thanking you that you've blessed us with these three esteemed panelists that are full of wisdom in their areas of expertise. So Father, we just ask that all of the attendees and all of our cohorts will glean so much valuable knowledge from this opportunity, Father God. And Father God, we just praise you for all the things that you do, seen and unseen. In your loving Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So folks, my name is Darren Woods. I'm the co-founder of BVF. I'm also the president of ProVets Group, and I'm also a serial type of entrepreneur who's been involved in various businesses from construction, restaurant, real estate development, procurement, corrections facility, and it goes on and on. So I'm passionate about this topic today because I think we will all glean a lot of valuable knowledge and nuggets. And what I will share with you is that I know all three of these ladies will know and know their history and know what they've contributed in this area. So I would like to welcome them. At this point, I'd like to turn, we've got some housekeeping things to do. I'd like to turn it over to our Executive Director of BVF, Leslie Gray.
Thanks, Darren. Good morning, everyone. As Darren said, my name is Leslie Gray, the Executive Director of the Black Venture Fund. And in level setting the room, I'd like to just discuss a few things about what we're trying to do here today and about a little bit about the organization and some housekeeping before we start. So the purpose of this event is that we're hoping to facilitate a comprehensive discussion regarding government contracting as a means to scale your small business. But before we begin, just a little more information about the Black Venture Fund. Our mission is to promote and train Black businesses. And we do that by a few things. So basically we do intense business development and education, and we undergird all of those tools and all those intent through Christian principles. So what we provide is business training. We provide that through right now an 8-week training program through conferences such as this one, and then some one-on-one consulting. And we provide technical assistance. And even sometimes we expose our cohorts to technical experts. So we'll facilitate one-on-one coaching with people who are subject matter experts. And in some cases, we provide access to funding. So that's in a nutshell what we do. Our call to action for you this day is to visit our website, blackventurefund.org. There you can find more information about who is in our organization, our story about how we began, and then some insight into our programming, some details. In terms of housekeeping, we're looking for a healthy, engaging conversation. So since this is a virtual session and not our typical meeting where we have thousands of people on the camera, we're asking everyone to, if you have questions, to enter them in the chat box. My job will be to kind of filter those things down and make the panelists aware of them, make Darren aware from them. And we'll also be asking questions from you. So we'll have a few questions in the polls, as a poll. And if you just have anything in engagement standpoint, just throw it in the chat box and we'll get to that question. And with that, I am going to fall into the background, because I don't want my head to be moving all over the place and not be a distraction. And I'm going to let Darren and these lovely ladies take over and share their expertise. Is there anything else you want me to share, Darren?
Oh, that's going to be it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So just for the panelists, in order for you to be seen on camera, your camera has to be on. Okay, so I'm going to fall into the background. Thank you guys, and I'll be here when you need me.
Okay, thank you, Les. I'd like to welcome our panelists, and what we're going to do is have a brief self-introduction, including their title, their education, their background, what industry they're in. We will start with Jessica Burns, or R.L. Burns, who, and this one is especially close, in that I worked with her dad 25, 30 years ago over in Dr. Phillips. I'm also excited about hearing Jessica because her dad, Bob Burns, has been instrumental as a contractor. And I remember he started his business as a very small business, 1 or 2 person business. And this business has become a generational business with Jessica now involved as president. So Jessica, can you give us a brief self-introduction, please?
Yes, Mr. Woods, thank you so much for that introduction. My name is Jessica Burns. I'm now the president of R.L. Burns, Inc. And as Mr. Woods mentioned, I'm the 2nd generation of leadership at the organization. My educational background is in business and law. I have an MBA from UCF and a law degree from the University of Florida. And so I don't have the technical expertise in construction that my dad and some of my colleagues do. So I actually bring a different kind of perspective to running a business I think as a 2nd generation business owner. I mentioned my background is in business and law, but I did spend 10 years in the construction business prior to going to law school. So my knowledge of the business has come through just growing up in it, seeing my dad run the business over the years. And then for the 10 years prior to law school that I spent really in the business development department. And surprisingly, you probably wouldn't think that you'd learn that much about construction and how to do construction from business development. But the way that I learned was reading the contracts, reading the front end documents, reading the requests for proposals, and understanding what the commitment was of my organization to the client. And then, my path into law expanded from there. But so we're in the construction industry. We are a commercial builder. We build some affordable housing, but we specialize in commercial tenant space, parks and recreation for municipal and local governments. And then we also do program management and project management. So thank you so much for having me today. I look forward to answering some of your questions and having some engaging dialogue with the rest of my panelists here. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next panelist I would like to introduce is Jennifer Kaysen. I've known Jennifer for 28, 29 years, somewhere in that area. She's a passionate advocate for small businesses, and I've actually learned quite a lot through her.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, hold on 1 second, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, bye.
I'm not sure
Where it's coming from.
Let me, panelists, this is Leslie Gray. I'm going to ask you to self-mute for a minute and while we figure out why that's happening.
Okay. So yeah, so as noted, I've known Jennifer for a number of years. She has a wealth of knowledge, and at this point, I'd like Jennifer to self-introduce herself, please.
Thank you. I would call you Mr. Woods, but I'm going to just say Darren, if you don't mind. So thank you, Darren, for this opportunity to speak and be a representative from a supply chain perspective. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Kaysen. I am a supplier diversity manager at the Raytheon Technology Company, headquartered out of Boston, Massachusetts. My educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in business from Barry University out of Miami, Florida. I have been a part of government, supporting government contracting for, I would say, at least 35 years, mainly my entire career, specifically in supply chain. I kind of grew up in that world. I started as manufacturing, and I morphed into what we would consider material management. I began to be a buyer, a subcontract administrator, and today I'm now a supply chain, supplier diversity manager. So I do have a wealth of information in that part of the environment. So I look forward to having a discussion around that today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Mhm.
Our next guest panelist, and I call her my avatar because I've had the opportunity to work with her office as well as her director, Sheena Ferguson, since 2007. They're well known in Orange County. They're really advocates for small businesses and do a fantastic job and have a wealth of knowledge. So if Tanya can give her a self-introduction, be much appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Vasantha, but everyone knows me as Tanya Razor, and I'm the Business Development Administrator with Orange County Business Development. My educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a master's degree in public administration from the Florida A&M University. I've been with the county for 18 plus years, but my experience has been in the private and governmental sector. My expertise lies in compliance and contract monitoring and auditing. So I guess you can say I know how to crack the whip, and I know how to advocate for small minority businesses. So I'm excited to have this conversation today with the panelists and with the other small businesses to see how we can best help and assist their business.
Thank you, Tanya.
You're welcome.
And she definitely knows how to crack the whip on small businesses. Okay, so the format today is that I'll be asking quite a few questions to the panelists. I've had the opportunity to work in all three as a vendor, meaning I've also had the opportunity to work on with local governments, with the federal government, with municipalities, and so on. So I think as an opportunity. Unfortunately, my story is I really didn't take advantage of this opportunity probably to 2007. So that being said, my first question is to Jessica Burns. From business to inception to currently as a vendor, what has the benefit of being a certified vendor for your organization?
Right. So at inception, we operated much like a general contractor and even self-performed some of our work. So there was a big advantage to us there to be a certified minority business enterprise, so that, you know, in instances where prime contractors were submitting to the government or submitting to other agencies that had goals for, you know, minority and small business participation, that we would qualify and be able to have, you know, that additional advantage on the team. As we've grown over the years and changed our business model to do more of construction management and less of the self-performing of the trade work, we have found that there really hasn't been as much of an advantage of having that certification at that level. And Ms. Razor can probably, you know, speak to this as well. But as a prime contractor, we're responsible for getting the MBE participation just as much as any other majority contractor is. So at that level, there actually isn't necessarily an advantage to being an MBE. Where that does come back into play though is in larger projects where we are a staff extension or a CM partner to a larger CM, they can use our participation as they would any other subcontractor, but we may be subcontracting a portion of the general conditions as opposed to say the concrete work or the carpentry work. So it does have its advantages at different stages of the business's growth. It just kind of changes how you look at it based off of the service that you're offering at the time.
Thank you. Jennifer, you work for a multinational corporation. What is the benefit to your corporation for having minority businesses and other certified businesses participate?
So we have goals as a participant, I'm going to say, in the Department of Defense Comprehensive Subcontracting Program. And so there are goals that we have to meet. And so certifications are important to us in several categories. We track about 8 different diverse categories. So for an example, if you have a hub zone certification, that is the only one that a company have to be certified through SBA. So if we're mandated to identify a certain amount of hub zone suppliers, that's where, certifications become important. But I can tag on to Ms. Burns also. Sometimes it's not necessarily a benefit because depending on the proposal, both certified or large have to provide the same information on a participation level.
Okay, so one of the comments or questions I have is that you mentioned different types of certifications. Can you share with us those different types of certifications? Like you mentioned hub zone. What are some of the other ones that?
So all categories, I'm going to just give you a couple. So we track small disadvantaged businesses. We track woman-owned small disadvantaged businesses, which gets rolled up into one, which is small disadvantage. We track woman-owned business, separate goals. We track small. We track hub, veteran, and service disabled veteran businesses. So out of all those categories, each category, the business can self-certify themselves as whatever their status is. What has to be certified through the SBA is hub.
Okay.
So, all of them self-certify in some way or the other, but the hub zone is the one that we have to validate their certification, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. So, Tanya, I've got 2 different questions for you. The first one is, how do you become qualified or registered as a contractor with Orange County?
To become registered as a certified MWBE business with Orange County, you will apply through our application portal, which is the B2G Now. Leslie can put up a slide that the first slide I think I sent Leslie that shows the diversity website, but you will go to that particular website and you would, let's see if it comes up, not that one. Yes. So right at the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the https://ocfl.diversitycompliance.com. You will apply through the portal. And this is new for us because we just went live with the B2G Now system February 1st. So there's no longer paper. Everything is uploaded to the portal. So it makes it a fairly easy process. And then you would apply for the certification.
Thank you. My next question is, can you share with us some of the scopes of services that the county puts out makes available for businesses or vendors?
Yes, the county procures all of their services. So that's anything from construction to goods and services to professional services. So construction is pretty self-explanatory, but we have our goods, which are basically suppliers, and the goods are scopes that can be like toiletries, t-shirts, anything that the county is going to purchase. Food concessionaires at the Orange County Convention Center is considered a good. And then we have our services. Services are those that are janitorial, consulting, landscaping services, and so forth. And then we have professional services. So professional services for Orange County are services that are architect and engineer related. All of those categories have goals on them, as Ms. Kaysen had indicated that they have goals as well. So for construction, we have a 25% goal. Professional services, we have a 27% goal. And for goods, we have a 10% goal. And for services, we have a 24% goal that we would like to have met on the solicitations that the county puts out.
So one of my questions or comments or observation is that these goals and these opportunities are not just unique to counties. The cities, the federal government, and a lot of other agencies have these same opportunities. So I know for us, ProVets Group, I just did a check this morning, a count, but I've worked for 5 different counties and 12 different cities. So and all of them have individuals, many of them have individuals like the same programs that Orange County has. So as far as network opportunities, I'm going to start with Jessica. Can you share with us some of the network opportunities that have come as a result of your business being MBE?
Sure. Can you clarify what you mean by network, as in networking with other organizations?
Networking with other organizations, yes.
Sure. You know, there are different agencies that we work with, like the county, for instance, that'll have, you know, how to do business sessions where you can sort of get engaged in the community with other contractors and such. So that's one opportunity. A lot of times there are, you know, trade specific organizations, such as Associated General Contractors, ABC, NAMAC, NAWIC. If you just, you know, look at construction industry networking or construction industry organization, you probably can find a good half dozen to dozen of organizations that cater to the construction industry specifically. And then there are some that cater to minority businesses and small businesses. And NAMAC's one of the ones that I mentioned. And then there's also a women's organization that caters to, you know, Black women in construction. So there are several different organizations. I don't know that there's any one necessarily that that I can say that's really been the one that's expanded my network. What I can say is the visibility of your organization and your brand, and putting yourself in spaces where people can either look to partner with you as a subcontractor or as a multi-prime contractor, or consider hiring you for their service or business is going to be of benefit to you. So whether it's construction specific or some other industry specific, or whether it's specific to just being a minority business, I think there's a big advantage of just putting yourself and your organization in any kind of space where a client may be able to use your services. But there are definitely some trade specific organizations and some that cater specifically to minorities. National Association of Women in Construction and National Black Women in Construction are just a few that I can think of off the top of my head. So.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Darren, can I jump in here for 1 second? While Jessica has the mic, There's a question inside of here addressed to her. Can she explain the difference between a prime contractor and majority contractor, if there is a distinction, or anyone can explain?
Sure. I would say that there's no distinction between a prime and majority, I guess, the way that, well, actually, no, there is a distinction. A prime contractor will be the contractor that contracts directly with the government for the construction service or whatever professional service that they're providing. Then you have subcontractors, which are the second tier that contract directly with that prime contractor. And so when I use the word prime contractor, I'm referring to the contractor or the organization that is signed in the contract directly with the client, the government agency or the private agency that you're doing business with. I guess majority you may think of as, majority and minority contractor, maybe a non-designated minority business or small business. So you may have a majority business that's not designated as a small business or a minority business, but they may not be necessarily a prime contractor, right? You may have another majority non-small business designation, not veteran, non-woman, that's also a second tier subcontractor because they do concrete work or they do carpentry work or whatever. So you may consider them a majority contractor, right? Because they're not, they don't have that small business or minority business designation, but they're not the prime contractor because they're not the entity that's contracting directly with the client.
Thank
or
you.
the government or the client.
Thanks for sharing. So Jennifer, there are many small businesses out in United States, and when one thinks of Raytheon or these large corporations, and a lot of times, we could be intimidated by saying we want to do business with a large corporation like Raytheon. What are some of the suggestions that you can share with us about how small vendors can prepare themselves to do business with large corporations?
Okay, thanks, Darren. That's a good question. Always tell the smaller company to, one, do your homework, right? One thing that most primes don't like to hear is, what do you do? So I think that if you are interested in becoming a supplier for a big company, do your homework, research their websites, understand their business model, and make sure that what you are bringing to the table aligns with what we do. And then if it aligns, then always say, come and sell your niche. Like what we always ask, what set you apart from the other thousands of small businesses that we already are currently doing business with? So I think it's important to research, also get involved in some of the organizations that Ms. Byrne talked about, understanding government contracting, understanding if this is an area of expertise that you can participate in.
Thank you. So for a small business like myself, if I turned up at one of these conferences or these trade shows, what would you suggest that I would need to have in hand to distinguish my business from the hundreds or dozens of other requests that you're going to get from similar competitors?
Yeah,
so statement of works or qualifications out?
Yeah, I mean, we are accustomed to getting like a one-pager. I think after the first page, you sort of lose, the content of it. So I think that if you come to the conference with your one-pagers, with all your capability statement, your NAICS codes, for those of you that don't know what a NAICS code is, it stands for North American Industry Classification. And so that is something that, when we participate in proposals, that is what the government normally gives to us. So, we like to see what NAICS codes that you can perform your services in.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya, my question to you relates to over the years, I've noticed a lot of training and workshop opportunities and communication and bidding opportunities that are available through Orange County. Can you share with us where we can find them as small businesses and the value and the benefit to any small business in this area?
Yes. Leslie, can you put up the slide that says e-procurement? Not that one. Yes, yes. So this is, if you're interested in finding out what solicitations the county has, I definitely recommend that you register as a vendor with Orange County first. And so what you have in front of you are the ways to register as a vendor. When you are registering as a vendor with Orange County, it's going to afford you the opportunities to get notice for any solicitations that you select for the commodity codes. That's what Orange County currently has right now. We're in the process of going to the NAICS codes, as Jennifer had indicated earlier, but right now we're still utilizing what we call commodity codes. And these commodity codes describes the scopes of services that your company provides. So you will select those different commodity codes, and anytime the county has a solicitation that comes out that matches the commodity codes that you have selected, you will be notified by our procurement division to either submit a bid proposal, a bid for that, or submit an RFP for that particular proposal. So one of the first steps is definitely registering as a vendor with Orange County.
Thank you. Can you also share with us some of the, and I know you're Orange County, but can you share with us some of the other municipalities and cities and what they do and the advantages? Because I know that you guys have alliances with like GOA and other organizations from a certification point.
Exactly. Leslie, can you click? Yes, MWBE opportunities, yes. Okay, so one of the advantages of seeking certification, and what a lot of people don't know within this area, Central Florida area, that there are many other agencies and municipalities that have MWBE programs. And so I encourage all of my small, my MWBE businesses that if you're certified for one, you should seek certification for all. So currently right now, we have Orange County, which is myself. We have an MWBE program, and we have the city of Orlando, and we have the state of Florida. The first three, if you seek certification with one of the first three that I just named, the ones that have a 2-star asterisk beside it, which is GOA, the airport, Central Florida Expressway Authority, Orange County Public Schools, and Orange County Library, they will accept our certification. So they will reciprocate. So basically, just by being certified with one of the first three, you can knock out 4. All you would need to do is call them at the number indicated and let them know which agency that you're certified with, and they will put you on their MWBE vendor list. Now, the reason why they would do that is because if you look to the far right, the last column, they do have MWBE programs, but they don't have their own certification departments. So that's why they will reciprocate. The last one, the Florida Minority Supplier Minority Development Council, that is private. They do have certification, but certification with them puts you in contact with all of your Fortune 500 companies. So that can be like your Disney Worlds, SunTrust Banks, and so forth. We provided the website. I encourage you to go to the website to peruse it and to ask any questions if you may, because they do charge a fee for their certification. They're allowed to do that because they're private. I'm a government entity, so any service that you seek through me is going to be free. And then the last one that I didn't discuss, I don't have anything beside it. It's the Florida Department of Transportation. They do have certification, but it's federal, it's DBE. So you would just need to contact them to go through their certification process.
Thanks for sharing.
You're quite
So
welcome.
this question is to Jessica. When we get these, we respond to these IFBs and RFPs and all that paperwork and documentation, it can be intimidating the first time you look through all of that paperwork. What are your suggestions from a contract perspective, a bidding perspective, that you would like to share with our audience?
I would say don't be intimidated by the amount of paperwork, and recognize what that paperwork means. I mean, when you submit a bid, you are submitting an offer to the government or to the client that you're going to do everything that's in that 500-page document for the price that you put on your proposal. So it's to your benefit to not be intimidated by that information, and to review it. And as you're, if you're starting a new business or you're new to that government process, you may consider just pulling down some similar proposals. Maybe it's a past proposal. It's a type of service that you would like to offer to the government or to the client. Take a look at that past IFB or proposal, read through it, get familiar with the terms, get familiar with how they lay out their contracts, because they're all really kind of the same, right? Once you've read one, you've read several of them, and then it's less and less and less intimidating, because you're familiar with where to go to get the information that you need. Some of the key terms in a 500-page or 300-page document, maybe you can get through in just a couple of hours after you've you become familiar with it. But definitely don't be intimidated by the information, because you're really signing up for a lot sometimes. I've seen instances where you're used to a bond requirement. Maybe that particular client, or it's a new client, and you're used to providing 100% payment and performance bond, and you submit your bid, it's accepted, and you didn't look at the front end documents, and now they're requiring 110%. Can your surety even provide that? Now you've locked yourself into a contract or into an offer that you may not be able to fulfill because there was a term in there or provision in there that you're not able to fulfill. So it's definitely really, really, really important to understand what you're signing up for. And those documents, that are submitted with the invitation to bid, all of the addenda, all of that is a promise that you're making to your client that you need to be prepared to fulfill. So it's definitely important to know what's in there. But once you've read one, you've read a few of them. And so it's less and less time consuming and less burdensome to go through that information. But I would say you'll run into issues, you'll run into hurdles, you will lose money if you don't understand what you're signing up for before you get into it.
Thanks for sharing. So one of the things I like to highlight is that in our business, when we started on the procurement side, on the service product side, one of the smaller contracts we got was with the VA. We started out with going to a government site and bidding a couple $1,000s on to provide a specific product or a specific service, just to get a feel for the government side. Now, question I have is for Jennifer as well as Tanya. Are you aware, or can you advocate any mentoring organizations that can, or other companies that can mentor and bring other small businesses along, or who they can team with, or what's your suggestions in that area?
So a couple things. Most primes have mentoring opportunities. However, those mentoring opportunities are supported by what we call, the Department of Defense, different programs, Air Force, Navy, Army. They all have different mentor protege programs that mandates prime contracts to align with. And so there is an opportunity. However, I always say that's a relationship building. I find it within the company that I work for. Most of those opportunities are for small businesses that they have already mentored informally, and then they will then put that into a more formal agreement within their individual programs. The second piece of that I think is important is to participate in some of your local organizations that will help train small businesses in, different aspects of a government contract or a contract in general. Ms. Burns mentioned, bonding, and being able to read through an RFP. Some of these organizations can even help with that. So I just think that getting involved in your local organizations, they even have national ones. It depends on even what you do, your expertise, whatever your area of business is. For an example, if you are a veteran or a retired service person that has a veteran status, then I would say get involved with the veterans organization. They have all types of training and tools that you can participate in. So again, I think it comes to getting involved. It's very difficult, and I don't want to be a naysayer, but I think it's very, very difficult to do business with the prime contractors, because the reality is they've already built relationships internally, although we are mandated to grow business throughout the organization. So I think local organizations, I think partnerships, I think relationships, all of that helps build their business.
Thanks. Tanya?
Yes, and I can echo on some of the things that Ms. Kaysen stated. I would definitely suggest you're going to have to get used to being uncomfortable, making yourself uncomfortable as a business. And a lot of our minority women-owned businesses, they don't like to step out of their comfort zone. And in order to, because you're going to have to network, as Ms. Kaysen has stated, there are prime contractors that are just used to utilizing certain firms that they've traditionally used over the years. So they've gotten in a comfort zone. They don't want to utilize, anyone else for fear that they may, mess up on the project or what have you. So you have to definitely get used to making yourself uncomfortable, which is going to require you to do some approaches, to attend the pre-bid and the pre-proposal meetings that we advertise, to make sure that you're networking at those events. I would also suggest memberships. There's several chambers throughout the Central Florida area that you can join. The African American Chamber, depending on what your ethnicity is, there's pretty much a chamber for every ethnicity, depending on what yours is, that you can join. But before you join those chambers, though, I would suggest that you find out what they can offer your business, because you pay that membership on an annual basis. So you want to make sure that you're getting what you're paying for in terms of your annual membership. I will also suggest we have I call it a hub at the Fashion Square Mall. It's called the National Entrepreneur Center, where we have several agencies that are located there that can assist you and that can help you. We have the UCF Small Business Administration is located there. We have the African American Chamber. We have Prospera that's located there. And all of these entities are there to assist the businesses, startups, from whatever you're trying to do, and in terms of coming up with a business plan. So a lot of times you may think that you have to spend a lot of money and to get this information, and you really don't, because the services are there and they're free. with Orange County, we're in the process, in particular my office, of revamping what we called our credit program, because we gave a credit to primes because we saw that we did have primes that was utilizing the same subcontractors over and over again. So we have a credit program where we offer them a credit for mentoring or utilizing a MWBE firm for the first time. So if you utilize a MWBE firm and this their first time you're utilizing them, then you will get what we call a credit. That credit will go towards future solicitations. So that's one of the things that we offer, and we're looking to revamp that to see how we can beef it up just a little bit more so that we can get some of our other MWBE firms into, doing business with prime contractors, because right now we have over 430 certified firms with Orange County. All of them have not obtained contracts with the county. Okay. And so we're hearing some of the same things that, well, the prime contractors, they keep utilizing the same ones. I can't get my foot in the door. No one will give me an opportunity, or no one will give me a chance. So yes, I will echo some of the things that Ms. Kaysen stated amongst with some of the things that I just mentioned.
Okay. So one more question, Ms. Reza. One of the questions is that, or comments, observation, is that when you become certified, there's a lot of paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
You probably will disagree, but on a serious note, what are some of the documents that you require if I walk in as a new business wanted to be certified?
Okay, so yes, there's a lot of documents that you have to submit. However, I would preference it with, if you are a business owner, these are some of the documents that you should have in the first place. So for instance, depending on your legal structure, if you are a corporation, a LLC, or sole proprietor, there's just certain legal documents that you should have as a business owner. If you are a corporation, you should have bylaws, you should have a stock ledger, you should have a stock certificate, you should have articles of incorporation that you filed with the state. You should have proof of purchase of your shares, the money that you put into your business. You should have, let's see, we ask for, I'm trying to think, those are some of the legal things. Proving your minority ethnicity. So a lot of times we get a lot of kickback on this because individuals submit their driver's license, and they'll submit their driver's license. They say, well, Tanya, look at it. You can tell I'm Black. Why do I have to prove that I'm Black? Yeah. But we can't just take your driver's license, your picture. Our files are audited as well. So we actually have to have proof of the ethnic designation that you're indicating because you're trying to get certified as a minority. So we have to have that actual proof. So those are some of the things that we request. We ask for your tax returns for the past 2 years. If you don't have them for the past 2 years, we ask for a year's worth. We ask for copies of your payroll, contracts. And I also like to say that one of the reasons that we ask for a lot of this documentation is because for Orange County, we pride ourselves of our program. We want to make sure that the individuals that are in our database are true, legitimate, certified MWBE firms. I don't want Ms. Burns to be in our program to be questioning or to have word in the street that this other company is definitely not a WBE business, it's her husband's business. She's not, in fact, a WBE business. So we go through strict scrutiny in the reviewing of our files. We ask questions that may make some people squirm or make people uncomfortable, but we're doing that for a reason. If you're telling the truth and if it's legitimate, it really shouldn't be a problem to provide the information. And with that also, I just like to say that's the reason why a lot of the other municipalities accept our certification, because they know the scrutiny that you've gone through to be certified with Orange County. So once they find out that you're certified with me, they're fine with it. They're just easy peasy. We can't reap anybody else's benefits, but they reap our benefits.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Because I will commiserate in that, besides for knowing who my firstborn was, it's a process. But I also share with you that out of that process, when I became started our business in '95, I was very reluctant to join the MBE program until 2008, the recession rolled around. I can share with you guys that when the recession rolled around, I was happy to be an MBE. I was happy that the county had these quotas, not quotas, but had these goals, that's a better word, had these goals that they were trying to attain. And out of those goals, it really opened up a lot of benefits and blessings for our business and my family. So I'm definitely a strong proponent. My question is to Jessica. Jessica, can you share with us some of the successes? Because your company, R.L. Burns, has been involved with so many major projects downtown. Share with us how your dad and yourself network, how you marketed your business. What were some of the secrets that have changed your business from a two-person business back in '94, '95 to where it's been a blessing to our community? Can you share that with us, please?
Sure. I think one of the main keys to the success is consistency and commitment. My dad will tell you that he is a person where if he signs up to do something, he's going to do it. And that's the type of person that he taught me to be. And that's the type of integrity to have as a company. And I say that because when you're starting a business or when you're growing a business, you make a lot of mistakes sometimes. And sometimes those mistakes can cost you. And you can have an approach where you walk away from the table and say, well, I just can't do it anymore. Or you fulfill your commitment, you learn from that mistake and you become better for it. And when you become better for it, eventually you start to see the wins and you start to see the successes. So I would say just consistency and commitment in delivering a good product, a good service, being a business of integrity has been really what's given us the reputation that we've had over the years. In terms of the networking, I mentioned the visibility before and how important I think that is to be visible, especially now in this age of social media. It's like, if you're not out there and people aren't seeing what you're doing, it's almost as if you're irrelevant. But I think the visibility has to come in a number of different spaces. So our success and, some of the projects we've been involved in downtown Orlando, like the Amway Center and Camping World Stadium, both phases of the Performing Arts Center, the new airport expansion, those prime construction managers have come to us either because we had a knowledge or an expertise of the government process or that client's process. So for example, the South Terminal expansion, we teamed with Hensel Phelps as part of the construction management team to take on that new expansion. The reason we got that, they came to us is because we had 18 years of experience at the airport, and we knew the inner workings of the airport. We were also known to be a business that consistently delivered. We had staff that could perform the job, just like, people that they would hire themselves. And so we've, deliberately tried to target other construction management businesses that are bigger than us, that we aspire to be like one day, to partner with, and to help to mentor us and grow our business. And that has given us the opportunity to work on some really large and expansive projects, and allowed us to really to use those to help to grow our business, as we still had a portion of the business that built those community centers and did those office build outs and built parks for Orange County and things of that nature. So the consistency and commitment is important. The visibility of your business and the marketing is really important. And then targeting, you know, maybe not everybody, but you target some partners, whether they're clients or other larger businesses that are committed to the same goal, that are willing to mentor you and to help you grow your business, to latch onto. And yeah, that's.
Thanks for sharing.
That's the secret sauce.
Mrs. Kaysen, you've had a lot of experience in Washington, D.C. You're aware of or small businesses that have grown into medium-sized businesses, and these individuals of African-American descent. Can you share with us, without giving specifics, some information about some of these businesses? What spaces they were in, like Lloyd and Tanae, and we had a speaker on a few weeks ago that you introduced us to. What's their secret sauce? What have they done different?
So again, it goes back to relationship building. So the young lady that spoke, I think a couple months ago, Breakforth Solutions, I believe that was the name. A woman-owned small business out of Washington, D.C. She actually started out in another prime, being an employee, but she built a relationship with a colleague, and she decided that she would take her expertise and build her own business. So what happened? That employee moved over to another prime contractor. They brought her in under her company, and she supported many proposals. And because she had built the relationship, then her business model grew within our own organization. And she has done very well. She was strong in proposal writings. That was her expertise. So in most proposals that we had, when it came to, I'm going to say, classified programs, she was the person that they called on. So she has been very successful. I'm not sure what her employee number is right now, but she still remains today in a small business for the company I support.
Thanks.
The relationship.
So this question is for Tanya. When a RFP comes out and a prime or a prime secures the services of a subcontractor, let's say like myself, when they do the rating, when procurement looks at the proposal, what is the benefit they would give to a minority business and a business like myself partnering with a larger question? How does that process work when they rate an RFP?
Okay, great. So the RFP stands for Request for Proposal, and it's different from an IFB, which is an invitation for bid. So typically with the IFB, we're looking more on the construction side, and for the county, IFBs, we're looking for the lowest price, cost, the lowest price. For RFPs, we're looking for the qualifications of the firm. So that process is totally different. IFBs, you're opening hard bids. RFPs, you're actually evaluating the proposals of the team, and you're looking at the team makeup and the experience of the team. So for RFPs, those are going to typically be your professional services contracts. Like I stated before, architect, engineering related. So we have an MWBE section. And so if you're going to utilize an MWBE at the full 27%, you're going to get a certain number of points, 37.5 points for the utilization of that MWBE firm. And then also if you're going to utilize We do have registered service disabled veterans, but we give points, bonus points for the utilization of them because they're not a protected class. So we don't have certification for them, but we do give the points. So once you're going through the RFP process, you get a certain number of points for the MWBE section for the selection of an MWBE firm at a certain percentage.
Thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
Now, this question is for Jessica, in that BVF, we've got a number of cohorts here in our audience who have started new businesses. Can you share with us the necessity and importance for keeping good financial records, how you guys go about forecasting? Basically a summary overview of the HR component of your business and marketing and everything that all those type of activities that impact small businesses regardless of their size.
Right. Yeah, all of those functions that you mentioned are important to have. They're necessary, and you're going to have, whether you have one person in your business or you have, 50. I guess, human resources, if you've got one person, it's a little bit easier, right? You don't have relationships to have to manage. You probably don't have a benefits program that you have to manage. And it's really just a matter of recruiting people when you need them, vetting, trying to properly vet them, set expectations for their role, and holding them accountable and making sure that they perform for you. On the marketing side, a lot of it is about just being able to communicate what your service offering is, knowing what type of competitive advantage you may have or what type of value you can add that sets your business apart from someone else. So one thing I mentioned in the last question session was, integrity and commitment and consistency. I think that's something that people know when they go to R.L. Burns, that's what they're going to get. And that's our value proposition. So that's what I'm going out to our customers and prospective clients to share with them as to why they should hire us. On the finance side, it's incredibly important to keep, accurate financial records, understanding your payment cycle, understanding your sales cycle. One of the most challenging things for small businesses and even second stage businesses, even us today, is cash flow. Trying to anticipate when those funds are coming in, when they're going to be paid by your client, and making sure that the terms that you're getting from your clients are somewhat consistent with what you're paying out to your vendors and your subcontractors, so you're not consistently upside down, or you're not consistently having to tap into other lines of credit to keep your business running. So you really have to have an understanding of what you're bringing in every month and what you're putting out. As you get more, I guess, advanced, or as you grow a little bit or start to have some business history, you can start to look at your past months and build in a forecast of what you should expect going forward. So, for construction, at any one point in time, we may have 12 to 15 projects going in, and they may be in any phase of construction, pre-construction, where, you're billing very minimal, and then there's a bell curve where you hit the height of construction, and then you start to slow down and then close out. So at any point in time, we may have 12 to 15 projects on any one part of this bell curve. And so we have to look at different ways to, how do I anticipate, or how do I project how much revenue is coming in? We look at the schedule of the, on the job. Okay, this job is 8 months long. I can expect a certain amount of revenue over that 8-month period each month. And then we use an Excel spreadsheet to build, a forecast of what our cash flows are going to look like. So we know, okay, it may be a really tough month in a couple of months because it's, the revenue is slow, but the expenses are still going to maintain. And so we talked about finance, marketing, human resources. Operations is another one that's big. I mean, that's the heart and brain of your company. And processes are incredibly important. Standard operating procedures are incredibly important as you grow and expand. One thing I'm recognizing coming in as a second generation business owner and someone who doesn't manage the business the same way my dad does, because I don't have the same technical expertise. I didn't grow up in the carpentry trade. I'm not a certified GC. So he can go out on a job site, look at a site and know exactly what's going wrong. You know, for me, I look at a schedule, I look at a budget and know what's happening on the job. But as you grow from one person who can, you know, kind of keep their eyes on maybe two projects at a time to an operation of 30 people and 15 projects where one person can't keep their eyes on every part of the operation, the process of how you run your projects and your operating procedures become really, really important, so that whether it's me looking at the job, my dad, another project manager, someone else, we're all following the same procedure, looking for the same key indicators and knowing when things need to be, you know, on a course correction. So, you know, as you grow and expand your business, I think it's important to kind of look at all of those, you know, 4 or 5 kind of key areas. You know, have some goals and objectives that you want to accomplish within your business for all of them, but just kind of make sure that you're sensitive or touching each part of it, because it's all, you know, critically important to your ability to grow and sustain as a business.
Thanks for sharing. This question is for Ms. Reza. Are there opportunities for nonprofits?
For certification with the county, we do not certify nonprofit businesses. Your business has to be for profit.
Okay, but are there RFPs that come out for nonprofits?
No, pretty much that's going to be on your federal side, but local government, no.
Okay. So my next question, I'm going to go back to Jessica, in that they're on the small business side or business side. Statistically, the opportunity for businesses that have succeeded 5 years are instrumental in building generational wealth. I think the statistic is that if a business goes beyond 5 years, that the average entrepreneur has a net worth of most of the time 10 times that of an individual that has worked for a company. Is that true?
I can say that most likely it is. One thing that's interesting, I mentioned before, I spent 10 years in the business. I left, right? So I went back to law school. I started a completely different career. I practiced law. I'm barred in Florida and Georgia to practice, and then came back to my family business. The reason I did that is exactly what you're saying right now. It's because of generational wealth, and it's because of the ability to have a higher net worth as an entrepreneur than it is to work for someone else. Why is that? I put in probably more hours in my business, right, than I did when I was working for somebody else. I could cut it off and say, okay, 40 hours a week, or I'm billing, 200 hours a month, or whatever the case may be. And I had a fixed amount of money that I was going to earn for those hours that I put in. Now, as an entrepreneur, I can put in those hours in my business, and I can also work on a second business or a third business. Looking at generational wealth these days, I think is a little bit different than it was when my dad was coming up and starting the business, because he thought he had to do the exact same thing his father did. Coming back after 10 years, I'm realizing building generational wealth doesn't mean that I run this construction business the same way that my dad did. It means that I take the opportunities and the advantages and the profits that he's been able to generate, and I make something more of that. So whether that's investing in another business, whether that's creating another business, I'm still building generational wealth out of the foundation that my father built. So I definitely think that the opportunity to increase your net worth and increase your earning potential is there if you're willing to put in the work. I will say not everybody is built to be an entrepreneur, and just like not everybody's built to lead, not everybody's built to be the CEO of the organization or the president. Everyone has, I think, their role, everyone has their strengths, and you can kind of find a niche for yourself. But if you have the passion to lead, to innovate, to serve in this capacity, then I definitely think that entrepreneurship is a great way to build generational wealth. And I have to kind of share this story. One thing that really made me consider coming back was one of my law school professors. I was supposed to be working in DC at the DOJ for an internship. It fell through last minute, and I ended up in this entrepreneurship class over spring break. And my professor told me the first day, "You're crazy if you think that you're going to make a lot of money as a private attorney one day." He's like, "You need to go back to your family business like tomorrow and figure it out." But he planted that seed, and he really made me think about what I was doing, how hard I was working, who I was working for, and who I wanted to work for. And when I sat down and realized it, I said, if I'm going to put in these types of hours, I'm going to do it for my family. I'm going to do it for the wealth that I can build, for the next generation. And so definitely an advantage to being an entrepreneur if you have the desire and the drive to do that.
Okay, thanks so much for sharing. Ms. Gayson, question I have for you, as we're Black Venture Fund, we're catered primarily to attracting or supporting Black business owners and entrepreneurs. Can you share, and this is a direct question, so you may have to use a little sensitivity. What are some of the pitfalls that you see with Black-owned businesses trying to get into, trying to market or promote in your business space, and what can we do to improve? Your suggestions.
So, I don't like to be put in a box with that kind of question, because I advocate for all business, all small business. So not just our Black businesses, but I mean, this could apply to anybody. Some of the pitfalls is just coming not prepared. I mentioned earlier, you come, you pick up the phone, sometimes I get cold calls, wanting an appointment with Raytheon, and, it's something totally, they're providing a service totally outside of our company core competency. So, my thing would be just come prepared to sell yourself.
Okay. Well, thanks for being outside the box. This question is the same question for Tanya. I realize you cater to everyone outside of the box. What are some of the things that small businesses can do to be better prepared?
I think doing your homework, number one, getting out of your comfort zone, and not having the expectation and utilizing the fact that you are MWBE as a crutch. So we have a lot of companies that use us as a crutch. And it's something that if we wasn't here, what would you do as a business owner? And I always tell our MWBE firms, you're in business to provide the scope of service that your company provides. Your first statement should not be when you're networking with someone, "Hey, I'm a certified MWBE," because if I'm going to utilize you, I'm going to utilize you based on the fact that, as Jessica had indicated earlier, that you provide a good job, you do good service, you do good work and integrity and so forth. I'm not necessarily hiring you because of the fact that you are an MWBE firm, because sometimes I feel that our firms utilize that as a crutch. And so they won't typically go the extra mile that they need to go. They would wait on us to do the things for them. So I think that they definitely need to come prepared, get out of their comfort zone, and put back into their business. Actually, now construction now has advanced on so many levels since it was in the 80s and the 90s. There's no need for you to still to be doing estimating and takeoffs on a pad and paper, pencil and paper, doing that. They have machines and stuff for that, to calculate so you can go a little bit faster. So, and time is money. So a lot of times our prime contractors are looking at, well, I know this firm, they do good work, but they're just super duper slow. And why are they slow? Because they haven't advanced yet. They won't put money back into their business. So it takes money to run your business. And of course, you're trying to make money, but you also have to know, as a business owner, you have to put back into your business as well. So.
Okay, thanks very much.
Mr. Woods, I would also like to piggyback that. I think if you have a strong past performance, that helps.
Okay.
Bringing that, bringing that to us. Hey, I have a relationship with, a particular customer that you have aligned with. That's always attractive for a company like a prime contractor.
Okay, so how would you advocate or recommend sharing that past performance in that statement of qualifications?
Yeah, again, on the one pager, because that helps me to understand where I can take that internally.
Okay.
And for me, I partner very closely with the gentleman that works in business development. He works in the front end of the business. So that's usually my first person that I'm going to go to based on if there is some kind of relationship outside of Raytheon.
Okay. So, Mrs. Razor, my question is, if I walk in, let's say we've got a number of people in our audience, and I'm coming to, I'm trying to get into Orange County. I look at your website. What happens after that? To see if they're, how do I gauge if there's what scope of works is available through Orange County? Because I see we've got on the questions, we've got folks that are in cleaning businesses and various type of service oriented businesses. How can I find out whether there's a need?
Okay, so one of the first things that I would recommend is that we have 2 workshops, free workshops for you to attend to find out about Orange County. One of them is how to do business with Orange County, and it's offered the 3rd Monday of each month from 10 to 12 noon. And then we also have the certification workshop that's offered the 2nd Monday of each month from 2 to 4 p.m. So if they register an RSVP for the How to Do Business with Orange County workshop, they're going to find out just that. They're going to find out about all of the different departments the county offers, which departments may or may not need their services. We do that in conjunction with our procurement staff. So we have a representative from our procurement department that's there, that's able to speak on the different types of solicitations that are out that could be available for the firms that are present. So if they attend the How to Do Business workshop, it's not only for minority firms, it's for anyone, because anyone can do business with Orange County. It's just that the county has an MWBE program. And so if you qualify for that program, then it will behoove you to, of course, register to become certified with Orange County as an MWBE firm. So that would be one of the things that I will offer. And then again, registering as a vendor with Orange County. If you register as a vendor with Orange County, the commodity codes that are listed, that gives leeway to the types of solicitations that the county may have put out before in the past. So once you see the commodity codes, that can give you hope because we probably put that particular solicitation out in the past. If you are registering as a vendor and you don't see your particular scope, then that means that we probably haven't had that particular service or needed that particular service before in the past with Orange County. So I'll give you an example. I had a company years ago. She wanted to seek certification with us, but her scope of service was basket weaving. Well, at that time, I wasn't aware of anything that the county put out for the scopes of basket weaving, but she still wanted to go through with her certification. And so I wanted to make sure that she was aware of that because I didn't want to give her false hope, thinking that once she got certified with us, she would see a particular solicitation that comes out for basket weaving. And she told me, she was like, I understand that you all don't provide that scope, but I'm getting certified for you guys because a private company, private sector accepts y'all certification and they will utilize it. So she had, other things in place, for our certification. So that's one of the things that I would do. Well, the two things, registering for our free workshops and then also registering as a vendor with Orange County so you could be aware of the different scopes we have available.
Thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
Now, this question is to in-house attorney, Jessica. Can you explain to us the different types of contracts, meaning that, i.e., fixed price, time, materials, cost and reimbursement, and what would be your suggestion? Let's say if you were bidding for a time and material, how does that work? So I think I've got fixed price, time and material, costs, reimbursement. That's just a few. So just the terminology. And if you were mentoring someone, what would you recommend they look for when they bid on these type of contracts?
Well, they're all different, and they're all different usually based off of, kind of the client's needs and how they want to control the costs for that scope of services. So most of what you probably see like in a county contract that Ms. Razor mentioned earlier on if you respond to an IFB, you're responding on a fixed price or stipulated sum type contract where you say, I'm going to do X amount of scope of work for this fixed price. And what you need to be careful of there is that you understand exactly everything that you're responsible for providing for that fixed price. Where there can be a gray area, or not even a gray area, but where you can get hung up sometime, especially I can speak to construction, is the contract documents. You have requirements that are in the drawings or the plans, right? And then you have requirements that are in your specifications. Architects and engineers are not always perfect and they don't always match up. So you may have a requirement in your drawings that's not listed in your specs or vice versa, but you're still responsible for it. And when you provide a fixed price, that means you're responsible for everything that's in those construction documents. And you can't be expected to go back to the owner or the client later and say, oops, I forgot. I didn't see that in that drawing, or I didn't see that in that specification. I need additional money for it. No, you provided a proposal for a fixed price or a stipulated sum, and that's what you're going to get for that service. On time and materials, you may see that often as a subcontractor that you may already be engaged in some form of contracting, but there's some additional services that need to be that needs to be provided on the project, but we don't exactly know what the scope of the work is. So perhaps you may get a time and materials contract to go out there, spend the time to do the work, spend the money for those materials, and let me know what that cost is, and I will reimburse you for the time and the materials. What's important there is that you properly document your time and materials in a way that's going to be accepted by the client. So if you're working on a T&M, time and materials contract, and you come back and you have a ticket that doesn't have any detail about what you did, when you did it, you don't have the receipts from your materials, you're not going to get your full cost of your time and materials back. So the documentation is incredibly important there, and understanding what level of detail the client is looking for so that you get all of your costs reimbursed. That can also become similar to a cost reimbursement. You might see that just on, services where maybe there's not a lot of labor or man hours involved, but you're just providing certain materials and you do a cost reimbursement. What is the cost of the work? It may not include additional or a profit or overhead beyond a certain amount. It may be a fixed amount that's included in that cost reimbursement. So that's something that you may want to look for. And then another pricing or another type of pricing that we see often in construction is the GMP, the guaranteed maximum price. And that looks at, your general conditions, your direct and indirect cost of the work. It includes often some additional soft costs like your bond cost, your insurance. It will often include some contingency, maybe an owner's contingency or a contractor's contingency for unforeseen, unknown things that you could not have anticipated at the time that you entered into the contract agreement. And so the owner is budgeting for some potential increase, right? And in order to use that contingency, you've got to apply for it. You got to show that it's justified, but the owner is still capped at their gross maximum price amount. And so that gives a little bit of room for some additional allowances, some unforeseens, maybe some ads eventually. But all of those different types of pricing, if you see those in a contract or you see them in an ITB, RFP, pop them in Google. If you don't fully understand how the pricing is structured, there's usually a definition. It should be a definition in the contract of what that price element means. And just make sure that you factor in everything that you can and should in your price and understand what you're getting back for it.
Thanks for sharing. My next question is directed to Ms. Reza. When I first started out in contracting, there were a lot of pre-bid walkthroughs by the county. For myself, who didn't necessarily have the experience in that area, that opportunity provided an invaluable experience because one, there were other contractors there, so you got to understand the jargon. They had a lot of questions, meaning that certain knowledge that they had, I may not have possessed. So they were asking specific questions that opened up my eyes to you thoroughly. Also got to have other relationships. And then fourthly, a lot of times the county will put out, let's say if it was building a house, a pre-bid estimate is going to be 100,000. Now, share with us, first of all, does the county still do this? Have
Yes.
these pre-bid?
Yes, we do.
And how does that information come out?
Yes, so the pre-bids are going to be strictly tied to construction, IFBs, and they're going to be put out in the solicitation when it comes out. So it'll give you a date. It'll provide the date of the pre-bid meeting, and it'll have the time and the location. I always encourage firms to attend the pre-bid meeting because that's where you find out everything about the project. So if you're reading the particular IFB and you have questions about it, highlight it, tab the page, attend the pre-bid meeting, even if you're not going to bid on the project. You just might want to have just general knowledge and just to find out more about that particular pre-bid. There's advantages in attending the pre-bid. Number one, the user department is there. So you get to hear from the user department division to find out exactly what it is that they're trying to do, to find out all about the project, the engineers there, the person that's there, that put out the estimate for the county. And then the other thing is, if you are interested in bidding on the project, you get to potentially eyeball your competition because everyone is there. So especially if it's a mandatory pre-bid. And so if it's a mandatory pre-bid, that means that only the individuals that attend that pre-bid can actually submit a bid for that project. If it's a non-mandatory pre-bid, then you don't have to be there in person, but you get to potentially eyeball your competition to see who's there. And then thirdly, you get to network. So you may have already read the particular IFB and have decided there's no way I can do this project with my firm owned forces as a prime, but I can definitely contribute as a subcontractor on this project. So if that's the case, you want to attend so that you could network with the primes that are there, and so that you could give them your spill on your company, what it is that you do, so that you can potentially become a subcontractor on that particular IFB, that particular project. So yes, we do have those, and they're very, very beneficial to attend.
Thanks for
Can I
sharing.
add something on that? We talked about like ways to kind of set your company apart and how to get your foot in the door with GCs. One of the things that we look for are subs that are responsive. A lot of times there's not a whole lot of time in between the time the IFB or the RFP comes out and we have to respond. And so when we send out solicitations, say, hey, are you interested in bidding? We need a response saying, yes, I'm interested in bidding. I need my subs to be thorough. Y'all are the subject matter experts in what you do. So whether that's carpentry, concrete, electrical, plumbing, you should know your scope of work better than our estimator should. And you should be looking for discrepancies. You should be issuing RFIs or asking, requests for information to your GC to submit before the bid closes. Those types of things are huge advantages, not only for the subcontractor, because you get a chance to clarify what you're submitting on, what the scope of work on, and what the price really should be prior to the bid, right? So you're leveling the playing field. You're showing your GC that you know what you're doing, you know your scope of work, you're being thorough, and that they're not taking a risk on bringing you onto the project. And at the end of the day, you're really helping the GC perform. So subs coming to pre-bids, attending the walkthroughs, understanding the scope of work, networking with us is definitely a huge advantage. And then applying that information at the bid phase is really going to help you get your foot in the door with GCs.
Thanks for sharing.
And just one more thing to add on, since Jessica mentioned that, I would agree with the subs being responsive, because we do have an issue with our primes coming back telling us, especially for the ones that want to utilize MWBEs. And so they have to submit a contact log if they're going the route for good faith effort documentation. And so when we're looking at this log, we're seeing that no response, no callback or what have you. And so we tried to reach out to a couple of our MWBE firms to find out, why are you not responding? If you're not going to bid the project, just simply, respond back, not interested or whatever. But a lot of our MWBE firms has expressed to us that they're with particular prime contractors, they're not going to respond to them. They don't feel the need to respond to them because they feel like they're bid shopping. They feel like they already have made up in their mind that they're not going to utilize them. They're just trying to fulfill a quota to get a box check. And they're saying that it takes them time to do estimates, to put this stuff together, to submit a quote. And they feel like they already know that prime is not going to utilize them. And they're just trying to find out what their numbers are so that they can come below it. So we haven't really kind of honed in on how we're going to combat that issue, but a lot of our MWBE firms have expressed to us that's one of the reasons why for certain primes, they're not responding.
Thanks for sharing.
And I'd like to add on to that as well. I mean, in our environment, there's a clause in our proposals where if we use them, so if a small business is apprehensive from submitting a proposal to us. If we submit that proposal with our RFP, we have to use them. And if we don't use them, we have to notify our CO that guess what, we submitted the pricing, but we're not going to use them. So if we reach out to our small businesses to provide us with a proposal, submit it in our package, we have to use them.
Wow, thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
One of the comments I have, observations is, and it's actually a resource tool, and that I've noted on Orange County. If a new RFP is coming out or it's being renewed, Ms. Razor, can you share with us where we could go to find the previous contract document, the previous contractor's bid, and really how that can be a sample or a bellwether indicator of how they price or how they structure? Because we have a lot of businesses here and they've never bid on some of these projects. But if they go back and look at past awards and past performance from 4 or 5 years ago or annual contract, they will see these documents and see somebody's charging $100 an hour, $500 an hour, or whatever it is. Can you share with us where we could find
Yes.
that?
Yes, I like to call that getting nosy. And it's real good to get nosy, and it's free. So, but a lot of people don't take advantage of it. But basically it's through our procurement division. So when you see a solicitation that comes out for the first time, an RFP or whatever, it has the contact person's name and telephone number in procurement that put that particular RFP out. You can contact that contracting agent in procurement and ask them to give you the contract number for this replacement, the contract number that this is replacing. They will provide you that contract number. Once you have that in hand, you can then ask them to send you the winning proposal or the winning IFB. You don't want all of them because it could have been 10 companies that submitted proposals. I'm not interested in all 10. I want the one that won. And then once you get their proposal in hand, and the reason why I say it's free, not only can you view it, but you can get paid and get copies of it, the entire proposal. And you can look at how they priced, how they price certain things in their proposal. Now, comparing it to your company, you may say, oh, there's no way I can do ABC for the amount that they put here. Where what you're doing, the reason why you have a copy of their proposals is because you're trying to compare apples to apples. And when you're looking at it, it may be comparing apples to oranges because, of course, their company is different from yours. But what you want to do is you're trying to get a generalization, a general idea. So the company that won it may have, they may be a large size company that may have 100+ employees, where you're a small MWBE firm and you have at the max 25 employees. So it may be a reason why they were able to give a certain price, but it at least gives you an example of how to gauge and to see how they came up with the numbering system that they did when they put in their proposal to provide that scope of service. The same thing, it will be the same caveat with an IFB. You will look at the IFB of the winning IFB that won, and you will look at the prices that they've included as well. And so then you can also get an idea of, let's say you're looking at it and you decide, I just really want to get nosy. I can't do this as a prime contractor, but I can definitely become a sub on the project. Then it kind of gives you leeway as to if that winning IFB, because you're looking at the entire packet, you will see if they utilize MWBE firms on the contract before. And if they did, then that lets you know that they're open. So you may want to contact them and reach out to them to let them know that you're MWBE certified and for whatever scopes as well. But all of this information is free. Like I stated, you can get copies of the proposal or the IFB. I think you just have to pay, it's probably going up to like, I think 33 cents per page, but all of it is free and it's right from our procurement office.
Thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
And we're going to wrap up pretty shortly, but I've got a question for Jessica. And on the business, on the vendor side, we've always been taught documentation, communication. A lot of first time or new businesses, or depending on where they are in the cycle, really don't document. So when it becomes a contract dispute or even customer dispute, let's say I'm a painting contractor, I go out and give a verbal instead of giving a written contract that describes the scope of works, 1 coat, 2 coats. I don't have the right legal jargon, meaning that it's subject to arbitration. I don't tell them what product I'm providing, because you know they got different ranges. You can go from Glidden to Sherwin-Williams to some of the cheaper paints. Why is it so important for documentation? And secondly, if then changes do happen, would you recommend that that they have change orders? Would you recommend that they have addendums to the contract? Help us understand, because this fits to any business and all businesses.
Right. Yeah, it's incredibly important to document what you say you're going to do and what you're going to get paid for it, so that there's no dispute, you know, later on down the road, or there's no, you know, I say all the time, everyone has convenient amnesia, right? When it's time to call them to the carpet to do what they say they're going to do. So rather than rely on everybody's memory and trying to get on the same page, it's just best to have, you know, those requirements or what you say you're going to be doing documented. It's way easier now than it ever has been to document things. Your text message is a way to document. We use that in discovery, you know, as a lawyer. If there's a dispute between parties, we're asking for text messages that may substantiate what y'all said you were going to do. Sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, I will be there on Wednesday and I'm going to paint the, you know, the east wall, the shade of green 6702, and we've agreed on the price of $250. That's it. That's your contract right there. If the other person accepts it or allows you to proceed with the work, you've now documented what you're going to do. You specified the paint product and you said what you're going to do it for. I don't recommend doing that in a text message, right? But I say that to say it's easy these days to document if you think about what you're doing. Email is also a good way to document. I recommend you have a formal contract agreement, right, with the other party. But when it comes to documenting as you get to changes, you can confirm in an email. You have a conversation on the phone that says, I'm going to be there on Friday. I'm going to paint the east wall shade of green, that's 6702. You confirm that in an email. Now you've got your documentation of what you said on the phone call. And again, when you have to go back to that eventually, because there was a change, because, oh no, I meant the green that was 6703, not 6702. Well, there's your documentation of what you've agreed to. So it's incredibly important to document along the way, along the project, as things begin to change. Do I recommend change orders or addenda? I recommend whatever the contract requires, right? So number one is always read your contract. And if it says you do not get any additional money for additional work without a written change order, then you best have a written change order if you want to get paid for that work. And you should insist upon it. And if you push back on your customer or your prime contractor and they're demanding that you do this additional work, I just point them to the contract and say, well, these are your terms. This is what you agreed to. And you said I can't proceed without a written change order. So Mr. Client, please give me a change order if you want me to do this additional work. And so that's where the contract and the language and the documentation can be used to your advantage. When it comes to construction, you know, specifically in the project management side, is incredibly important, and your contract will probably require you to do something like a daily report. for your field supervision, the people that are actually on site out in the field building the project, to do a daily report, and they're documenting what the weather was like, if there were any delays, any inspections, any job shutdowns, any safety issues. They're documenting who was on site that day, how many workers they had. That is incredibly important. If there's a dispute a year, 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 5 years down the road, you're not going to be able to remember what happened on May 8th, 2022 on the construction site. You might remember that there was a mishap, but that level of detail has to be documented in your project file, so that if you do need it one day, and there will, if you're in business long enough, you will need to call on a daily report. You will need to call on some meeting minutes. You will need to go back to an email or some notes in a contract or something. It will happen. It's the cost of doing business. If you're in business long enough, you will reach that point where you'll need that. And if you make it a practice in your business now to document those things, it becomes procedure. It'll be easier down the road to be able to fight for what you're owed, if you have a claim or dispute. But definitely read your contract. If it requires a change order or an addendum, make sure you get that before you proceed with the work. Otherwise, you're proceeding at your own risk. It's a lot harder to get your money back after you've already done the work, and now you're fighting for, well, you told me to do it, I came out and did it, and you know, it's just, it can be a mess. And you're setting yourself up to not get the full amount of your claim if you don't properly document it and follow what the contract says in terms of changes and managing changes.
Thanks for sharing. And I'm going to read this last comment. Documentation beats conversation any day.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so on that note, one other conversation comment says, "You ladies rock. You make us proud. Make me proud." So with that being said, we're now in hour 45 minutes. Any closing comments that you ladies would like to make?
I'll get started. First of all, thank you for your attention today. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
You know, I'm excited to see the birth of so many new businesses, small businesses, entrepreneurs. It is incredibly challenging at times. It can be very lonely at times, and it can be very difficult, but I implore you to push through that storm and wait for the sunshine to come out the next day, because it will happen. I implore you to tap into your resources. Consider, connecting with me on LinkedIn if you would like, and I'm happy to, help you and answer questions offline or anything of that nature. But ask for what you want, know what your obligations are, and push back, when you need to. I think a lot of times we get afraid to, we're concerned we're not going to get the opportunity, we're not going to get the call back. But if you're living up to your promises and your commitments, you're a business and a person of integrity, and all you're asking is for your client or the people that you're working with to live up to the same obligations that they ask of you, then I don't think it's too much to ask for people to do that. So I say, push back and make sure you get your due when it's justified, and deliver. Make sure you deliver consistently.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to thank you also for allowing me to participate today. But my message is always to suppliers: don't give up. Keep going, keep being persistent, keep calling, because I know what it takes, to finally become a supplier for a big company such as the one I work for. So don't give up. There's lots of organizations out there. Tap into your locals, tap into your nationals. That would be helpful. Know your business, and don't hesitate. Same thing. I'm connected. I'm at LinkedIn. Anyone can contact me there. I can talk to you offline as well. But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least.
I'm sorry, what was the question? Because I went out, something happened and I had to go out, and so I'm back on.
we're wrapping up, and we're thankful to you, esteemed ladies, and any closing comments.
Okay, yes. Well, thank you for putting this event together. Thank you to the participants that, was able to come on this morning. I know it's Saturday morning, Mother's Day weekend. So again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And but this is something that we do all the time. It's free knowledge. So I definitely encourage you to reach out to us. We are free resources. My information, Leslie has it. I think he can put it in the chat for everyone so that if you're interested in MWBE certification, please do so. And I also will encourage you to, I don't know if most of the participants, if your home base is Seminole County, but I know that I'm representing Orange County. And when I say network, meet with your constitutional officers, your commissioners that you have in Seminole County. Seminole County currently does not have an MWBE program. That should be a problem for those of you that live in Seminole County, because there's billions of dollars that are put out in Seminole County. You're a taxpayer in Seminole County. So you're the ones that elect and put these commissioners in office. You should find out which commissioners for your particular district, schedule a meeting to find out why is it that you have an operating budget of X amount of dollars, but you're not willing to give back to minority women-owned businesses. That should be something that they should be able to answer or to address. Again, you've elected these officials, so call them to the carpet. You have to get comfortable with making people uncomfortable. I always say that, especially if you're trying to grow your business and you're trying to weave your way in. You have to get uncomfortable with making some people uncomfortable just to get some of the questions answered and just to make sure that you're getting the services that you need for your business. So with that said, I'm excited. Hope to hear from some of you if you're going to be applying for Orange County's MWBE certification and directing you to other resources that are available. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. So on that note, on behalf of the BBF board, we would like to thank you ladies for participating. This information has been invaluable, a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. I wish I weren't retired in business because you ladies have invigorated me so much that, no, let me take that back. I don't want to start in business again, but you provided for folks that are starting in business. You've been a source of great knowledge and inspiration. So again, we would like to thank you, and to all of you, have a happy Mother's Day, and all the audience, enjoy Mother's Day, and God bless, and thank you all. I look forward to seeing you the next time.
Thank
Thank you. Bye-bye, ladies.
Bye.
Thanks.